So in this video we're going to be looking at how to install a virtual machine so that we can install things like ROS Melodic and Gazebo to program and simulate our robots and create some cool robot applications. So as we're going to be using ROS Melodic, we will need to download Ubuntu 18.04. So as we're creating a virtual machine and not dual booting, we'll need to install something like Virtualbox. So just press download Virtualbox, and depending on if you're on a Windows, Mac or Linux machine, you can click whichever one. There, I'm on a Linux machine, so I can press Linux distributions, and then so if you've got a Linux, then you can do something like sudo apt-get install or whatever package manager you've got. But I'm just going to install it like this and open with, which is fine. So as that's installing or downloading, the main difference between the Windows, Linux and the Mac installation of Virtualbox is that on Linux or Ubuntu machines, you're going to get this little window and you can just press install and it will install automatically for you, as it's doing now. With Windows machines, you're going to have the standard Windows installation wizard thing. You can just leave everything as default, just press next all the way through and it will, it'll be absolutely fine. So as that's installing, we're also going to need Ubuntu. So this is what you usually get if you type in ubuntu.com, go to downloads and Ubuntu desktop. Now you may be tempted to download 2004, but 2004 won't work, unfortunately. We've got to go to see our alternative downloads, then go down and pass release and click Ubuntu 18.04 LTS Bionic Beaver. That's the version we want. And just press this little link here. That will download an ISO file or disk image file, and yeah, that'll take about 5 minutes to install, and you'll be ready to go. I've already done it, so we're going to minimize that, and that's installed. Good stuff. So I'm going to type in Virtualbox, and this is what you're going to get. Now it may be a little different. It probably will be a little different. I've had a few virtual machines installed previously, so it's picking up on them. You'll have something not quite exactly the same, but something fairly similar. You'll see the icons such as new and probably settings. But what we need to do is press new. Now I should say that everything after the installation part of Virtualbox is exactly the same, whether you're on Linux or Windows or Mac, so everything you're going to see now will work exactly the same. So first we're going to type in the name of our machine, just put Ubuntu. Now Virtualbox is quite clever. It will pick whichever system you've basically typed in. So Ubuntu 64-bit. Don't choose 32-bit because Ubuntu hasn't made a 32-bit version for quite a while, I think. So 64-bit. And this is the machine folder. So this is the folder where all of your virtual machines will be stored. Of course you can change that if you want, but that's the default where it should be. And because I have a Ubuntu machine already created, it's not going to let me. So what I'm going to do is just delete it. I can't delete that. Well, that's helpful. Hold on. I shall delete it. Virtualbox VMs and delete. There we go. So now it will work. Press next and there we go. So the amount of RAM you usually need, I think Ubuntu, it likes to have about 4 gig of RAM. I think 2004 is 4 gig of system memory. So as long as you can give 4 gig of RAM, that will be fine. I usually like to do half of whatever I have. I have 32 gigs, so I will allocate 16 gig to my virtual machine. The more the better, especially when we're going to be dealing with Gazebo and big simulations in ROS. Next thing we can do is we're going to create our hard drive or hard disk. So of course, if you've already got one, you can create use an existing hard drive. I've got a Windows 10 one there, but we're just going to create an ordinary new hard drive. Press create, and we're going to keep it as standard and choose the Virtualbox disk image. Press next. Now we can choose either dynamically allocated or fixed size. The difference here is that dynamically allocated will it will kind of grow to its maximum size, or fixed size will just be that amount of memory you've got, that amount of space. Fixed size, as it says here, is often faster. I just click dynamically allocated. I don't usually see a huge difference between them. I'm going to use 50 gig. Oh, that's a little much. Yeah, I'm going to use 50 gig of hard drive memory. Choose as much as you can and create, and there we go. So that's our virtual machine kind of settings container order. Now we need to go into settings, click on advanced, and I like to use bidirectional for these. It just means that anything on the host machine, so the host is your Windows machine or your Mac machine, or your Mac or your Linux machine. It just means that you can copy and paste things off your host machine onto your guest machine, the guest being our virtual machine. I quite like it. It means that we can copy code over from one to another, or a URL or something. I find it quite useful. Yep, so general is fine. Then go to system. We can get rid of the floppy boot order. It won't really do much, but we're not using it anyway. Processor. Now again, Ubuntu likes to have at least 2 processors. I put 4 in, and it works perfectly fine. And we can keep everything else as standard, like so. And go to display. Now you can enable 3D acceleration. It can be a bit buggy at times. If you see a problem or you notice a problem with your machine, it's usually going to be the enable 3D acceleration. But until we see a problem, we'll leave it as that and allocate everything, or as much as you can. Everything else can stay as standard. Storage. Okay. So we've got our virtual hard drive. That's this one. That's our virtual disk image. Now we actually need to choose our ISO, which is this one. So to do that, press empty, go to the little disk and press choose create virtual optical disk. Now I've already got it selected here, but if you haven't, press add and go to wherever your ISO is. So in this one, it's there. So press open and choose, and there we go. So you can have a look at the other settings. Most of them can be remained as standard. The shared folders are quite useful. Shared folders allow you to move things from one machine to another, so actual physical files, which is useful for if you've got some code or something on one machine, you want to change it to another. That's quite useful. USB. This allows you to do what we call is USB path through. That means that if you plug in a USB into your physical machine, then it can appear on your virtual machine, which is quite cool. So at the moment I can put any one of these, so a webcam or my mouse or something like that, I could put any of them onto the guest machine, which is quite cool. The rest though is pretty much standard, so press OK and start. If this box comes up at all, you can just click Ubuntu, click whichever ISO you've got, which is obviously this one, and press start. And there we go. So now we are we're going to go through the installation process for Ubuntu. You'll notice that the size of the screen is really quite small, but we'll sort that in a few minutes. Okay, so we can try Ubuntu, or we're going to install it. So we're going to install, and we're going to choose a keyboard layout, so UK. And as this is a virtual machine, we don't need things like the games or the office software or media players, so just choose minimal installation, which is fine, and install third-party software for graphics, which is fine. Okay, so now we're going to choose the installation type. Now, for what we're doing, we can just use a raised disk and install Ubuntu. That's absolutely fine. If you're dual booting, which we'll do in a future video, you may want to choose a particular partition, or you may want to create your own partitions, which could be quite useful, but we're going to leave it as standard for now, and press install. And this is a partition that Ubuntu is going to create for us. So continue. So click wherever you live, so close to London will be fine, and continue. So type in your name, leave it as that, and choose a password. It can be whatever you want. It's a virtual machine, so we don't really care much about passwords, and then just click login automatically and press continue. And there we go. So that'll take about 5 or 10 minutes to install. It's usually quite quick. So yeah, I'll pause the video now and resume it when it's finished. Okay, so Ubuntu is now installed, so we're going to press restart now. And as soon as you see this, please remove the installation medium. What it basically means is it wants you to power down the virtual machine. And there we go. So if we press start now to restart it, and get rid of that. Cool. So this is what we've got. So to increase the size of our display, what we need to do is go to Devices, go to Insert Guest Additions CD Image. We can just go through all of that crap. There we go. And press Run. Put in your password. And usually you'll need to restart your machine after this is finished. So we're going to press Return to get rid of that, and then press we'll press Power Off for now. Cool. And start up. Okay, cool. So now we should be able to change our settings. So if we go to View, and now we've got all of these resize resolution settings that we can change to. So I'm going to set mine to 1920 by 1080p. Now you'll see that there's a few little scroll bars on here. That's because obviously, you know, this is still a windowed thing. You know, it's not full screen. So the way we can change to full screen is go to View and then go to full screen mode. So in Virtualbox you'll sometimes see host plus something. So host usually refers to the right control button and then whatever. So in this case it will be right control F, but we're just going to click it. And there we go. So that is 1920 by 1080p full screen Ubuntu. So first thing we're going to do, just make sure we're all up to date, is press Control Alt, and it's going to install anyway. That's helpful. Okay, we'll leave it, but we'll do it anyway, just to show. Blimey, is that the time? Is that the time? That is the time. Haven't had my dinner yet. Okay, we're all done. So to open the terminal, we press left Control, Alt, and T. This brings up the terminal. Now, in Ubuntu Linux based machines, and specifically ROS, you're going to be using the terminal quite a lot, so I'd recommend that you try to get used to it. All we're going to do for today though is we're just going to make sure everything's up to date and upgraded and removed if we need to remove anything. So to do that we press sudo or type sudo. Sudo means super user. It's basically the same as administrative mode in Windows. So we've got sudo apt get update and our password. Oh, oops. Should have been a hyphen there. Apt get update. Okay, and then just for reference, to revisit commands that you've already written, that you've already typed, press the up arrow, and you can do that. Cool. So then we're going to upgrade, like so. And it looks like there's a few things that we can get rid of. So Ubuntu will usually say, there's a load of things that you don't need, and you can use this command to get rid of them. So just sudo apt auto remove. So we're going to copy and paste this command. To copy and paste something in the terminal, press Control, left Control, Shift and C. Go down and Shift Control V, and there we go. Press Enter, press Y, Enter, and there we go. So we're going to wait for this to go. And we're done. So make sure that we got rid of that auto remove thing. Upgrade again, and there we go. Just one additional thing as well. You can tab complete in this. So if you've got auto R, you can press tab and it will auto complete, which is quite nice. So yeah, so that is now a fully up-to-date version of Ubuntu 18.04. If we go to settings, we can see that, to details, we can see that it's 18.04. We've got 15.3 gig of RAM in this case, and how many processors we've got. In this case we've got 4 processors, 64-bit, and we've got 52 gig of disk storage. So yeah, that's everything. That's a fully up-to-date and ready to go virtual machine. So we can just get rid of this. We can shut it down, press power off. Oh, I should also point out that to get out of full screen mode, just press Control and F for that. Or there was a little space near the bottom around here. Just go down and it'll bring up a tab full of all the menus, and just press View and normal or full screen again, and it will return it back to where it was. Now, there was one phone's vibrating. Why is my phone vibrating? Go away. Oh, someone was calling me. Great, call them back. What was I talking about? Ah, right. So yeah, one thing to note is you may go to settings, go to USB, and you may see that these settings aren't actually what's the word? Disabled. They're faded out kind of thing, and you can't press them. So what you need to do is go back to Virtualbox here. Just go to here, press again download Virtualbox, get back to here, go down and go to this part where it says the extension pack. The extension pack will allow you to support things like USB 2 and 3 and things like that. So press all supported platforms. Now on, I think most machines, it should just come up with a box like this. We can press OK, and then Virtualbox itself will reinstall its kind of extension package. So there shouldn't be any extra installation wizards we need to go through. And there we go, installed successfully. And now you can go back to settings, go to USB, and you can see that these options will be available now. keep, why not? Whatever, go away. So yeah, that is VirtualBox. That's we've now installed a virtual machine, fully up to date, a 1804 Ubuntu machine, and yeah, next video we'll either do something to either dual boot Ubuntu, or we will look at installing ROS. We might install ROS, it's quite easy. So yeah, thank you very much, see you in a bit.